Well, good morning and happy 4th of July, everybody. Happy 250th birthday to the greatest nation on earth, America. This is Chris Allen, the producer for Paul Metsa's Stars Over the Prairie. We've all had things to do this weekend, and so we thought we would rerun a recent episode with Professor Anne Margaret Daniel, as Paul had a great conversation with her about Bob Dylan's 85th birthday last month. Paul is on his way to see Bob Dylan at the new Mystic Lake Amphitheater in Shakopee, Minnesota, and I'm sure he'll give you a full report on the new show next weekend. We wish you a safe and happy and enjoyable 4th of July. From Paul Metsa and Chris Allen on Stars Over the Prairie.
Live from the KDAL studios at Lake and Superior Street in downtown Duluth, it's Stars Over the Prairie with 8-time Minnesota Music Award winner Paul Metsa, featuring cool people from all walks of life in all 50 states. Check out previous show podcasts at northlandnewsradio.com. Call or text Paul at 218-722-0839 or email paul@paulmetsa.com. Now, the other great folk singer from Minnesota's Mesabi Iron Range. Here's Paul Metsa.
And I wish I could see.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I love that new intro. Whoever did that, let me know. I'll send them some money. This is your host, Paul Metsa. I've got my wingman, Chris Allen, on Stars Over the Prairie. As we usually say, we are 238 somersaults down the hill from Bob Dylan's childhood home and just about 230 somersaults down from St. Mary's Hospital where he was born.
I just love that you know how many somersaults there are.
Well, I've done my research. So Bobby Dylan is turning 85 years old. He's still on the road, and we are saluting him here with the show today with just a wonderful guest, Professor Anne Margaret Daniel. But before we get into that, I'm going to read a little bit from my book, Alphabet Jazz, Poetry, Prose, Stories, and Songs. Just one paragraph from a 2-pager in that book called Bob Dylan Highway 53 Revisited. You can walk into any Iron Range bar on the weekend and see any of the 5 character types imbued in Bob Dylan's persona. The greaser, dressed in black leather jacket, white T-shirt with a pack of Lucky Strikes rolled up in his shirt sleeve, dark sunglasses, leather belt buckled on the side, and engineer boots. The hard-working miner, fresh off his second shift, enjoying a cold one before going home to the wife and kids. The a-hole protesting that his drink is not strong enough and costs too much. The trickster doing hard tricks at the bar and gambling with loaded dice, or perhaps the weirdo in the back booth drinking cheap brandy straight up and reading James Joyce. That was my description of 5 of the character types you could find in the great Bobby Dylan. Of course, he had a huge influence on me as he had with thousands of anybody that picked up a guitar and played cowboy chords. I used to go over to his house at 2425 7th Avenue in Hibbing and stand outside that door and look at it when I was a teenager and said, the man that walked out of that front door is changing American culture as we speak. And one of my lessons from the Bard was you can get there from here. So we're celebrating Bob's 85th turn around the sun with a great guest, a woman who I met when she was in Duluth a couple of years ago. She found a dog named Mabel, who's now living at my place. More on that in a future episode. But let's hear Professor Anne Margaret Daniel. Anne Margaret Daniel is a noted scholar, author, and professional writer who specializes in American literature and music with a significant focus on Bob Dylan and F. Scott Fitzgerald. She has written extensively in publications like Hot Press, The New York Times, and more. And she actually spent time with Bob Dylan's notebook where he was writing down his thoughts and notes for what became Blood on the Tracks. Without no further ado, my friend, Professor Anne Margaret Daniel. Anne, thanks so much for taking time with us today.
What a pleasure to be here today, Paul. Thank you. And I hope you and Blue and Mabel are all doing really well. You know, one of the things a lot of people don't know about birthday gentleman Bob Dylan is that he is a huge dog lover.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, he's had quite a history of dogs from the time when he was a boy. He's had a lovely golden retriever named Custard. He has, of course, he famously adopted a dog named Hamlet, a black curly, I guess it was one of the first Labradoodles. Hamlet was sort of a black lab, black standard poodle mix, who ended up living with Bob and Sarah in Birdcliff when the Dylans were making their home in near Woodstock in the late 60s. And then he ended up being adopted by Rick Danko, whose dog he kind of was. Hamlet listened to all the recording of the Basement tapes. And now, I guess photo evidence shows that Bob has a number of very large, beautiful mastiffs. So he's, and of course he had his Beagle on the Rolling Thunder tour. So I'm in the mood. I'm surrounded by my own dogs here in my study, and I'm thinking about Bob Dylan, dog lover, and his epic song, When Dogs Run Free.
Oh, of course. Well, and for those if my microphone is working properly, you might be able to hear my co-hosts on the show today who are wrestling behind me, Blue and Mabel. Guys, if you could calm down just for a minute here while I'm working.
Give them big love from me. They're two of my favorite dogs in the whole world, and I know Bob would love them if he met them.
Hey, Margaret, Daniel, when did you get turned on to Bob Dylan? What, I'm sure as a teenager growing up, you heard him, but what was the moment when you, oh yeah, this guy is special?
Oh, it was before I was a teenager, Paul. I grew up the only child of two academics in Richmond, Virginia. My mom was a biologist and my dad was an American history professor. And they had a big stack of old Folkways albums. And I have to confess, my favorites were Pete Seeger and Burl Ives. But they had a recording, they had a couple of Newport recordings, Newport 65, and I can't remember not knowing the words to Blowin' in the Wind and Chimes of Freedom. And Mr. Tambourine Man. I literally can't think back to when I first heard those three songs. So I've been listening to Bob since I was a child, as is probably the case for a lot of your listeners. And I really started listening to his lyrics and what he was saying when an older cousin gave me a battered copy of Blood on the Tracks. I guess I was about 10 or 11, and that's pretty heavy for a kid, but
yeah.
Man, I love that album, and I still do.
Well, let's give a little shout out to Burl Ives because Spider John Kerner, who I was honored to get to know over the years when I moved down to Minneapolis, he started his whole folk and blues career via a Burl Ives songbook.
Really? Oh, I never knew that. That's marvelous. And of course, when Bob himself, obviously he was born just down the block from his old family home in Tilt Town. He was born at a hospital that was only recently pulled down. I remember it was when I was last visiting you. They were taking down the hospital. But when he moved up to Hibbing and your native Iron Range, and then down to Minneapolis himself when he was 19, Dave and Spider John and Tony Little Son Glover, who ended up being a dear friend of Bob's for many, many years, were three of the big influences in getting him involved, not just in the music that he loved the most. He would listen to their records all the time. He learned riffs and songs from them, but in introducing him around the coffee houses in Dinkytown.
Well, and we've got to give Tony Little Son Glover some credit because he was the guy that taught Bob Dylan how to play harmonica.
Absolutely give him credit for that. The last Dylan show I went to was just a couple weeks ago down in Macon, Georgia. A fantastic show at the Old City Auditorium there. And Macon is kind of a magical city for music fans. Otis Redding was born near there, and they now have a fantastic Otis Redding arts center for children and young people who are interested in the music industry in all aspects, from songwriting to business and planning tours. Little Richard was born there. I went to his birthplace, and I hope
cool.
I hope that Bob got there too, because in the Hibbing High hematite, under his senior class notes, Bob's ambition is listed as to join Little Richard. And also, of course, there's the Allman Brothers connection. And I made a pilgrimage to the Big House and also to the incredible H&H Soul Food restaurant where they used to eat most days. But Dylan's concert was gentle and beautiful. And the loudest cheers came when he played that harmonica that Tony Little Son Glover taught him how to play. And he did a beautiful harmonica solo during When I Paint My Masterpiece, and then at the Every Grain of Sand, which has been his closer for a while. It's always just gorgeous to hear him play the harp.
You know what I've loved? I saw Bob last year in Mankato. Lovely show. But when he said in the high school annual that he wanted to go to meet Little Richard, he actually, in a way, kind of became Little Richard. And what I was really amazed at that show in particular was how great of a piano player he is.
Yeah. Yeah, he has that. I love watching the piano footage of him from Don't Look Back and Eat the Document, where you can see him playing the piano. It looks like he's almost flat-fingered. My piano teacher would whack my knuckles with a ruler and say, arch your palms, arch your hands. And if she were around right now, I would tell her, well, Bob Dylan plays flat-fingered. But he has he's got really long fingers and large hands. He can easily stretch well over an octave, I would think. And his piano playing never quite gets the credit that it should. And, I mean, yeah, everybody likes to see him with a guitar strapped on. He's first known for his beautiful old Gibson acoustic with all those strings hanging off the neck. And then he shifted over to a Fender when he went electric. But his piano playing really deserves more credit than it gets. He's a magical piano player on something like Ain't Talkin'. It's just wonderful to hear him do those chords and riffs. And in the new arrangement he's playing these days of the old classic, When I Paint My Masterpiece, it's a positively jazz boogie woogie piano. I've long maintained I would love to hear him and Tony Garnier and his current drummer, who is the excellent Anton Fig, as a jazz trio at the Iridium.
Hey, if that show gets booked, let's go.
We're absolutely going.
You know what? To me and his piano playing, it's like a Thelonious Monk meets a riverboat gambler somewhere on the Mississippi River, you know? You've got a little bit of everything.
You're a poet, Paul. That's a beautiful description of the way Bob plays. And always has played. I mean, think about some of the footage. Since we're celebrating his birthday, I'm very much on my mind is his birthday in May of 1966. And that was, if you can believe it, I mean, that was his 25th birthday. He was only 25 years old.
Wow.
He celebrated it in Paris with a great big cake, and, you know, Johnny Hallyday and some celebrities, music and otherwise, were present. He was wearing a beautiful, flashy, striped suit that I believe he bought on Carnaby Street, because he'd just been in England and done a lot of shopping with Bob Newirth up and down Carnaby Street. And Barry Feinstein was the official photographer on that leg of the tour, and Barry took these amazing photographs of Bob with his very elaborate birthday cake and blowing out the candles and cutting the cake with this giant, almost a sword, and looking a little bit embarrassed that such a fuss was being made about his birthday. But, I mean, he was celebrating that in the middle of his Electric World Tour.
Wow.
Right after he'd made that change, he was, am I correct that he had just recently become a father, that Jesse Dillon had just been born? And, I mean, his life was just moving at warp speed. But the moments that Barry was able to capture of that birthday party are very much on my mind as I look forward to his 85th birthday in 10 days.
It's really incredible that the man is still out there playing like headed to another joint, as the song says. You, when I got to meet you and Margaret Daniel, you were an F. Scott Fitzgerald scholar, and you were in St. Paul at an event there honoring the great F. Scott. And you and I had got to know each other over the interwebs, and you wanted to come up to Duluth and Hibbing to see where the man came from. So when you went to, and what an honor it was to meet you, by the way. And but when you went to the Hibbing High School auditorium and you saw that same piano that Bob got kicked off the stage for at the talent show because the principal thought he was playing too loud, what did you feel when you were in that gorgeous high school?
Well, you know, first of all, I'm glad that it's been maintained and kept so beautifully. And I was thinking about him as a teenager in Hibbing, honestly. I was thinking about him making music with his friends literally as a garage band. The Dillon's family home, which is now owned by a gentleman named Bill Pagel, who is well known probably to everyone listening to a show about Dillon in Minnesota and environs. One of the major collectors of Dillon recordings and photographs and other material. Bill told me that Beatty Zimmerman, Bob's mother, would take the family car out of the garage and she would park it on the street so that Bob and his friends, a band that later called themselves the Golden Chords, they were the ones who played the high school auditorium that famous day, could practice in the garage. And other kids from the neighborhood, like kids from high school, they would come and they would hang out outside the Dillon's house. They'd sit along the curb and walk along the sidewalks and listen to them playing. And they'd tease him. They'd be like, "Hey, little Richard. Hey, Elvis." But in a complimentary way. So I was thinking about, when I was there, I was actually thinking about what a great evening, what a great performance that was for the other kids his age. Kids who had been raised on, new groups that featured young people like Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers and Frankie's brother, Louis Lyman and the Teen Chords. You can see some of these bands in a movie that came out, I think it was in 1957. So it was right when Bob was in high school. It was either 57 or 58, called Jamboree. You've probably seen it, but I encourage your listeners to go and watch Jamboree. You can find it on YouTube. And just the energy and the joy of young people making music, that's what I thought of in the auditorium.
Rocky Wall Entertainment presents Music in the Park in Silver Bay at City Center Park. These concerts have been rated as one of the best summer events on the North Shore, and it's free. See acts like the Belfast Cowboys, Lolo's Ghost, Jeff Dayton Band, Eric Kiskinen Band, Turn, 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 and The Scarlet Goodbye. Perfect entertainment for the family. Join Rocky Wall Entertainment and Silver Bay for the free Music in the Park series of concerts every Friday starting July 17th at City Center Park next to City Hall. This is an all-weather event. In the case of inclement weather, the concerts will be moved indoors to the Reunion Hall. This is the 6th year of bringing the best of Americana music to the North Country. Arrive early and pick up some dinner and beverages for your own picnic dinner. For more information, visit RockyWallEntertainment.org or see Rocky Wall Entertainment on Facebook.
At Sunrise Funeral Home, Crematory, and Cemetery, we offer membership-level pricing without the membership fees. Just honest service you can feel from the moment you walk through our doors. To us, you are not a number, you are a neighbor. As family-owned and operated, we are committed to fair, transparent pricing and will always work with families to ensure services remain accessible. We're so confident in our pricing, we encourage you to shop other funeral homes and call us last. We also meet or beat any at-need direct cremation price in the Minnesota Twin Ports area. If finances are a concern, ask us about Minnesota burial and cremation assistance. We will help determine if your loved one qualifies and guide you through the entire process with care and compassion. We never turn away a family in need, no matter your financial circumstances. Call Sunrise Funeral Home, Crematory, and Cemetery today and experience the Sunrise difference at 218-727-6869.
I'm Zach, and I had Z LASIK at Weiss Eye Center. I was sick of wearing glasses. I've had glasses since 3rd grade. Dealing with the nuisance of glasses kind of reached that point of I just need to get LASIK. I was a little nervous, but knowing now what that process all entailed, I wouldn't have been nervous if I knew. Everybody's really nice here. Not a bad thing to say about anybody. Everybody's happy, and everybody here's nice. And I mean, it's day one post-op, and I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Weiss Eye Center is the only clinic to offer blade-free Z LASIK in the Northland. To find out more and to arrange your free consultation, call 218-625-1917 today or visit weisseyecenter.com for more information. Weiss Eye Center. See the best.
Behind every moment, there's a feeling of happiness, of security. Behind every dream, there's a spark.
We got the house.
With every challenge,
just one more step,
there's a safety net. Behind every victory,
yes,
there's a team. Behind every moment, there's Bell Bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Listen to previous Stars Over the Prairie shows on our podcast page at KDAL610.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. Twin Ports, Iron Range, and Northwest Wisconsin. This is Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa on KDAL.
And we are continuing our conversation with Professor Anne Margaret Daniel. We are celebrating Bob Dylan's 85th birthday on the show, and my guest is the Dylan Scholar, F. Scott Fitzgerald Scholar, Professor Anne Margaret Daniel. And you are a student of American history, and you've been aware of Dylan and know as much about Bob as just about anybody, which is why we're so happy to speak with you. How would you describe, if a Martian came down and they say they're out there, how would you describe Bob Dylan to someone from Mars?
Wow. That's a heavy question. I would describe him as, the word that comes to my mind first is timeless, and not in a hokey way of oh, he's timeless, oh, his music is timeless, or, he has no sense of time or something like that. But someone who actually transcends time. Someone who feels like he has lived in many centuries over many, many human generations. And I think of that word generation being involved with Dylan because from the time he became a popular singer and songwriter in the very early 1960s, he was tagged with this phrase, voice of a generation. And that is such a misnomer. He's the voice of every generation he's lived in and generations that are way in the past and generations to come. I mean, the man feels to me, at least, and I'm just telling how it feels to me. I'm trying to describe to a Martian how it feels to me. He feels like he lived in the time of the building of the pyramids. And it feels like he lived definitely in the days of ancient Rome and when Greeks were bringing sacrifices to the oracle at Delphi and gathering around the foot of Mount Olympus and believing that the gods lived there. It feels to me like he's walked the Great Wall of China and been on the boats of the English Navy when they were sailing all over the world in the 1600s and 1700s. It feels to me like he was at the Battle of Bunker Hill and saw the battles of the Civil War. Like he ran across the field in front of Dunker Church at Antietam, and he was standing at the Bloody Angle when the tide of war turned at Gettysburg. I mean, his songs bring all that to people today who have no sense of history and can't remember things beyond the last time they texted something on their phone. And when Dylan says and when he sings that he contains multitudes, that's the multitude he's talking about. It's the multitudinousness of cultural history, artistic history, when he sings about Caravaggio and when he talks about, Botticelli, when he quotes from Shakespeare and shows you that he knows Shakespeare as well as any literary scholar. I mean, I truly, like Robert Johnson at the Crossroads, Paul, I would have sold my soul to have seen Bob Dylan play the role of Hamlet in 1966 or 67. He would have been overwhelming. But that's kind of incoherent because I always get incoherent when trying to, presume to explain Dylan.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Even a Martian. But I would just say that he is a person living on this planet at this time who carries with him things that matter culturally across the board to all of humanity. And I think that is what keeps Dylan current. It keeps people of all ages. When I was in Macon, there were Mercer University students, there were high school students, there were people in their 90s there, all ethnicities, races, creeds, colors. They had come to hear him. They'd come to hear literally what he has to say. And I was sitting next to a young man who had moved to Macon from Erie, Pennsylvania some years ago for work. And he'd never heard Dylan before. And he left the place just lit up and excited and midway through the song False Prophet, he said, he's telling it like it is and like it will be. And I thought that was one of the best descriptions of Dylan I've ever heard. The guy was so excited. He was off to meet his friends down at a bar downtown and tell them all about the show. And that's the effect that he still has, and I think always will have on people. And it's most powerful in his live performances. He's back on the road again in June and July and the very beginning of August. And I've heard him many hundreds of times, and I can't wait to go back.
Wow, that was one of the greatest descriptions of Bob Dylan I've ever heard. Professor Ann Margaret Daniel, thank you.
Behind every moment, there's a feeling of happiness, of security.
Keep going, pedal, pedal.
Behind every dream,
Order up.
there's a spark.
We got the house.
With every challenge,
Just one more step.
there's a safety net. Behind every victory, there's a team. Behind every moment, there's Bell Bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You're invited to the Great Lakes Candy Kitchen, open for another season for all your candy pleasure. They're located on Scenic Highway 61, 10 miles north of Duluth in Knife River. They're third and fourth generation candy makers using traditional copper kettles to make their caramels, fudge brittles, and chocolate-dipped hot air. When you visit Great Lakes Candy Kitchen, be sure and try their famous nutty ice cream bar. Tell them you heard it on Stars Over the Prairie. Great Lakes Candy Kitchen, located just 10 miles north of Duluth in Knife River.
I'm Joe, and I had Z-LASIK at Weiss Eye Center. The funny thing is I absolutely hated buying a contact solution because I thought it was such a racket having to spend $15 on a bottle of contact solution. And that's just one thing, is just not having to buy that stuff anymore, or glasses or anything like that. For me, it's mainly just I like to hunt and fish and everything, and not having to bring that stuff along, especially in the winter when I go ice fishing and stuff. It gets a pain when I get to the end of the day taking my contacts out, and then if a rattle reel goes off in the middle of the night, I'm fumbling for my glasses to go and try and catch a fish.
Weiss Eye Center is the only clinic to offer blade-free Z-LASIK in the Northland. To find out more and to arrange your free consultation, call 218-625-1917 today or visit weisseyecenter.com for more information. Weiss Eye Center. See the best.
At Sunrise Funeral Home, Crematory, and Cemetery, we offer membership-level pricing without the membership fees. Just honest service you can feel from the moment you walk through our doors. To us, you are not a number, you're our neighbor. As family-owned and operated, we are committed to fair, transparent pricing and will always work with families to ensure services remain accessible. We're so confident in our pricing, we encourage you to shop other funeral homes and call us last. We also meet or beat any at-need direct cremation price in the Minnesota Twin Ports area. If finances are a concern, ask us about Minnesota burial and cremation assistance. We will help determine if your loved one qualifies and guide you through the entire process with care and compassion. We never turn away a family in need, no matter your financial circumstances. Call Sunrise Funeral Home, Crematory, and Cemetery today and experience the Sunrise difference at 218-727-6869.
Rocky Wall Entertainment presents Music in the Park in Silver Bay at City Center Park. These concerts have been rated as one of the best summer events on the North Shore, and it's free. See acts like the Belfast Cowboys, Lolo's Ghost, Jeff Dayton Band, Eric Kiskinen Band, Turn, 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 and the Scarlet Goodbye. Perfect entertainment for the family. Join Rocky Wall Entertainment and Silver Bay for the free Music in the Park series of concerts every Friday starting July 17th at City Center Park next to City Hall. This is an all-weather event. In the case of inclement weather, the concerts will be moved indoors to the Reunion Hall. This is the 6th year of bringing the best of Americana music to the North Country. Arrive early and pick up some dinner and beverages for your own picnic dinner. For more information, visit RockyWallEntertainment.org or see Rocky Wall Entertainment on Facebook.
You're listening to Stars Over the Prairie with 8-time Minnesota Music Awards winner Paul Metsa on KDAL. It's Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa on Northland News Radio KDAL.
sun was shining, I was laying in bed, wondering if she'd change it all, and her hair was still red. Her folks said our life together sure's gonna be rough. You never did like mom told me dress, but the bag wasn't big enough. I stand on the side of the road, rain rolling on my shoes, heading on to the East Coast, Lord knows like days I do, getting through. Tangled up in blue. She was married when we first met, soon to be divorced. Held her out of a jam of gas, but he knew a little too much for her. Drove that car as far as we could, we banded it out west. Set out on the side of the road with the green in his bags. She turned around, she looked at me as I was walking away. I heard her say, the horse shot out, I'll meet again someday. I'll be Avenue 10, 11 blue. I had a job in the great Northwest, and I'm looking at being poor. Working for a while on a fishing boat just outside of Jellicrow.
That was myself, Paul Metsa, and Sonny Earl doing our version of Tangled Up in Blue. And now we are back with Professor and Margaret Daniel. And so you teach a Dylan course at the New School in New York City. When I was doing a little research on you, on 12th Street, which is not too far from where the Almanac Singers, Pete Seeger, Lee Hayes, and, of course, Woody Guthrie and more used to get together. But how do your students, especially those that aren't familiar with Bob Dylan, how do they approach him after they know more about him?
That's a really great question. And I have to say, everyone who comes to my class they've either heard enough of him or about him there in the village to be curious about him. And a lot of them have parents and grandparents who have got them listening to the music. But the movie, A Complete Unknown, has been really powerful in, of course, drawing young people to want to listen to Dylan more and find out more about him. And my class isn't just on his music. My class is also about his other arts, about his, so far, one novel, Tarantula, if you could call it a novel, about his memoirs, his filmmaking, his painting, his sculpture. And one of the things that I do regularly in the course of the class is, like, we'll talk about Cafe Wah, and we'll talk about him having performed there. And at the end of class, I'll say, okay, gang, we're going to walk across Washington Square now and go down to the Wah and have a cup of coffee on me. And, you know, they kind of almost faint that they can't believe it. It really is still there. And this kind of music scene is still going on in the village. In fact, there's a wonderful young Dylan scholar based in Italy. His name is Fabio Fantuzzi. He has got a series of evenings going at Cafe Wah and now at other venues in New York that celebrate Dylan. And I've sent my students to these, and we also do little walking tours. Yes, we're near where the Almanac Singers were, but we're also just around the block and up the street from where Bob Dylan and Susie Rodolo lived when they got their first apartment there on West 4th Street. So we go and take a look at the building. This time of year, there's a beautiful cherry tree blooming in front of it. And the students really love those kind of connections. And Greenwich Village is a perfect place to foster them.
Well, for me, the folk scare, as it's referred to in the Greenwich Village scene in particular, was such an influence on me as a young Iron Ranger. And when I finally debuted at Folk City in 1986 and was able to walk those streets, and you could go to Cafe Reggio. You could go to where the original Folk City was. You could walk down McDougal Street and go to where the Gaslight Cafe was and the Kettle of Fish. And the beautiful thing about the West Village is those buildings are still there. personally, I could feel the ghosts of Greenwich Village and I've been there a lot since. I love it.
You know, the thing I love about Greenwich Village, yeah, you can feel the ghosts, like Dylan sings in When I Paint My Masterpiece. You know, these ancient footprints are everywhere.
Right.
But what I love is the fact that it's not just ghosts, you know. There's so much vitality still there. You can still go here on stages in Greenwich Village. Some of the people, I mean, in my time there, I heard the late, great, and a wonderful dear friend, Happy Traum, perform in the Village. In fact, Happy came to my Dylan class, and the last number he played for my students was Buckets of Rain. They had no idea how lucky they were. I've heard Wavy Gravy perform in the Village. I've heard, you know, so many people who were there at Dylan's time who are still making music, who are still out there performing just like he is. And I admire that generation of musicians and of human beings so much because, like a lot of writers, they don't retire. It's what they do. They perform music and they keep doing it. I mean, look, Bob Dylan is a millionaire very many times over now. He's about to be 85 years old. He could be enjoying what most 85-year-olds characterize as retirement. But he's doing something that clearly he doesn't need to do, but he viscerally loves to do. And he's enjoying it. You watch him up there on stage, and he's loose, and he's smiling, and he's liking the way his band sounds. And one of the things he does, one of the things they do is regularly keep the lights high in the concert hall. And he looks out and takes a look at the audience and he sees what people are doing and what they're, you know, watches their faces. It's really powerful. And I'm just so grateful to those people of that particular generation, which is not a generation that is carved in stone and put away in the pages of history, but still very vital and active and handing things along to other people. One of the best evenings I ever spent in Greenwich Village was when Liam Clancy and his wife came to NYU to do a tribute to the Clancy brothers and Tommy Makeham's concert at Carnegie Hall, which is basically the concert that brought Irish traditional music to a lot of America who didn't know about it before. After the concert, Liam Clancy just walked around Washington Square and told stories, including about Dylan. And it just makes the place where I'm lucky enough to have my job so magical to me.
Professor Ian, Margaret, Daniel, this has been such an incredible conversation. We've just got 1 minute left. What is your birthday wish to Bob Dylan? What would you say if you bumped into him walking the streets of Greenwich Village?
Walking the streets of Greenwich Village or somewhere in Minnesota or somewhere out in California or wherever he is. I hope he's celebrating his birthday in a place he loves best, surrounded by family and friends, as we all should be on our birthdays. And I would wish him in a very old-fashioned way many happy returns of the day and a heartfelt, joyful year to come doing exactly what he wants to do. Because, frankly, that's what he's going to do anyway. That's what he's always done.
And Margaret, Daniel, this has been so enjoyable. I look forward to seeing you the next time you visit Minnesota, if I don't get out to New York first. This has been just an incredible birthday tribute to the Bard, Bob Dylan. Thank you so much.
Paul, you come out to New York anytime and expect me back soon in Minneapolis and St. Paul and definitely Duluth.
Feels pretty good to be celebrating Bob Dylan's 85th birthday here in his hometown. His place of his birth, Duluth, Minnesota. We call it the Zenith City by the Unsalted Sea. Like I said at the top of the show, we are just 238 somersaults down the hill from his The little childhood home where he grew up with Abe and Beatty Zimmerman. And the little brother David came along when they moved up to Hibbing. And, of course, right around the corner used to be St. Mary's Hospital, where the young Bob was born on May 24th, 1943. I was playing in Minneapolis years ago at a place called the Five Corners. A fellow named Bucky Baxter stumbled in. He was playing, and he had played with Bob Dylan from about 1991 till almost 2000. And Bob Dylan was doing 5 nights at the Orpheum Theater downtown. On a night off, Bucky got in a cab and asked the cab driver, "Where's the best music in town?" And God bless that cab driver. They sent him over to my gig at the Five Corners every Tuesday night for 237 years. 237 days. That's a long... Anyway, here's a song. Bucky invited me down to do a demo down at his studio in Nashville. And that he owned with Gary Talent, Springsteen's bass player from the E Street Band. So this song we recorded down there, it was on my record, Whistling Past the Graveyard. It's also on my new collection, Songs of Resistance and Resolve, called Another Man's Chains. Turn it up. All right, that was Another Man's Chains. I wrote that. I was singing that. That was Bucky Baxter playing pedal steel on it. Gary Talent from the E Street Band on bass. George Marinelli on guitar. George was with Bruce Hornsby in the Range at the time and then went on to play with Bonnie Raitt for 25 years. This show is dedicated to my mother, Bess Margaret Metsa, who left this earth for heaven in 1994 on this day. Think about her every day. We'd like to thank our guest, Anne Margaret Daniel. Come see Paul Metsa and Sonny Earl tonight at 5:30 at Carmody's Irish Pub. And we'll see you next week here on Stars Over the Prairie. And like my dad used to tell me, remember to be kind and make someone happy.
Back in the days when I was a buckshot in short pants, spinning bottles with Tiger Jack, I remember Grandpa's European prayers in the bunkhouse. To these days I use those prayers to try to bring him back. Hand in hand with my brother and sisters, Chinese jump rope heart to heart. They ain't hiding, but they're just out of earshot. Hope to the heavens that worlds don't fall apart. And I wish I could see stars over the prairie, stars over the prairie tonight. And I wish I could see stars over the prairie, stars over the prairie tonight. Under the gazebo where I stole my first kisses, in the fallen angel Cadillac with chrome. Well, me and my buddy like a good gypsy army, fighting each other's cause like they were our own. In the grease grab alley where I duck sucker punches, in the shadow of my old man. Before I blacked out, I wonder how Duke would have done it. Before I found out I split off with the band. And I wish I could see stars over the prairie, stars over the prairie tonight. And I wish I could see stars over the prairie, stars over the prairie tonight. Pick between. They were gone on the downbeat, found true love on the flip-flop. All I got is old love letters and magazines. So I sit in the city and I look out my window where the neon moon shine when days are done. And I see all the people let it slip through their fingers. You can be with them, but they can't be with anyone. And I wish I could see stars over the prairie, stars over the prairie tonight. And I wish I could see stars over the prairie.